India, and that's how, in my view, it should be the way forward.
What's your sense about Reserve Bank's move that strategic debt restructuring cases should be provided for earlier, at least partly, because at the end of 18 months, if you are going to provide, their argument is that you would have paid tax and dividend on an overstated profit. So is that the way to go?
I fully agree on that. There is no purpose of providing taxation also on that for an unrealized profit. And when it is given to the SGR itself, it shows there is an inherent weakness in the account, and we may not realize the full value even if the new promoter comes in. Most of the cases, we must be taking some haircut at some point of time. It is better to recognize and better to make conservative provisions from the beginning itself, so that we will be building sufficient cushion when the realization happens. Okay. It's the right thing.
The other problem will be this restructured, as well as, I mean, I will put the 525 assets in the same restructured basket, though, you know, we choose to call it refinancing. Mr. Padmanabhan, do you think that we can wait for growth to solve most of those cases, or do you think at some point in time government, corporate sector and banks will have to take the decision of pulling the plug on some very marquee investments?
See, two aspects. I think first of all, the 525, in my view, was not introduced with a view to tackle the NPA alone. It was a bit of an asset liability management issue also, because you are asking banks to finance some projects, and that asset liability issue had to come in place. But yes, I agree that if we are talking about the whole host of issues that we are talking about, the whole number of accounts, there will be certain accounts where it will be prima facie, the business model itself is doubtful to succeed, whatever be the circumstances, whatever be the turnaround. Here the banks will have to take a conscious decision that there is no point in spending good money after the bad debt which has already happened. So that's a qualitative call that I believe the banks would be now taking, now that the whole system is geared up to cleaning up the balance.
Do you think that the governor putting that date and deadline and stepping up the pressure was primarily intended for that at least recognize cases a little ruthlessly?
I wouldn't like to guess what was in his mind when he said that, but obviously when we start doing something, we have to work with a deadline.
Okay.
I mean, there is no point in saying that you start doing it and there is no deadline to that. Then the people do it at different pace. When the entire system is now being taken together, obviously we have to work with a deadline. So he has given a deadline we need to work with.
Okay. Well, what's your sense, Mr. Rajendran? Do you think that we are going to see increased provisioning and therefore pressure on profit for the next 6 quarters? That is something this system should be prepared for?
Certainly. Provisioning will go up. Even the banks, now that they know that by 17th March we have to clear the balance sheet, they will proactively provide more if they have more profits. Okay. Profits declared will be much lesser. Even as I said, even though it's not an NPA as on date, or likelihood of becoming an NPA also will attract provision now. So that let me clean up when the good days are coming. One good thing which I expect to happen is, like it happened in the past, the Treasury may start giving very good yields if the interest rates are going down, which has not happened. Last time from 12% it has gone to 4.89%, given such a windfall profits. This time the movement is not that fast so far. When interest rate starts falling, if I see 5% again, banks are sitting on a very big book which will give sufficient money to clean the balance sheet.
Actually, the difference between last cycle and this cycle was that last cycle, the coming out of the cycle was accompanied by a big global boom, which created space for falling of market yields, as well as an improvement in growth.
Right.
This time
this
around
becomes important. In fact, the point that I would like to add is that the economy turns around and growth starts to happen is going to give momentum to this, because basically if we want the denominator to expand as far as the credit portfolio is concerned, it is important that we start financing the new projects. So for that to happen, the growth has to happen. Otherwise, it'll be a sort of a double whammy.
Absolutely.
And that's a point that we are all worried about. So let's see how it moves
That is a major problem. Today, the NPAs are growing in the public sector banks, but credit is not growing in the public sector system. The private banks have the maximum market share in the incremental credit growth. The move to sanction new loans is not happening in the public sector banks. Unless the balance sheet size grows, in percentage terms, NPAs will not come down. With the same book size, providing for these bad loans is a major challenge for us.
But would you at least say that at least all the poison now is known, and it's a question of being able to find partly the growth and partly the capital to solve the problem? Would you say at least we will not have probably unknown unknowns?
Not many. Okay. Not many at this point of time. There could be some, but there is not many accounts. Almost we identified all the problems. In fact, 5/25, we are talking about it. See, take the case of airports. We are given a repayment schedule of 7 years or 10 years for the airports. We know what kind of airports we have built in Delhi or Bombay or today Hyderabad or Bangalore. All these airports are generating much more revenue than what they originally projected. The problem was the initial period, the implementation period has gone much beyond the schedule, and the monetization of the extra land has not happened as per the projection. So airports have become a problem. But now after the reschedulement, over a period of this 5/25, they are generating sufficient money to pay. Similarly, your power projects, which are completed, now we are putting so much of pressure on completing the unfinished projects. Once they are completed, they start generating revenue. There just should not be a problem. Road problem is already sorted out. So many cases, the government has taken initiative to sort out the problem, and these will come out of it.
So would you say, Mr. Padmanabhan, I mean, I'm just looking for a straw of hope to cling to, that probably the worst is known and things can't get bleaker for the banking system?
I would put it this way. I think the problem has been recognized. Whether the entire problem in its, if you are talking about a 99.99 level of confidence, I don't know whether we have reached that level. But most of the banks know where they are. And with the push coming in from the Reserve Bank and the government to make sure that we recognize the problem, address this and move forward. Yes, everybody knows that for a few quarters the balance sheet should be stressed. I think that's the right way forward. So it's a good thing that's happening.
All right, we'll have to end this conversation on that note. Thank you very much for joining Mr. Padmanabhan.
Thank you.
Okay, we take a break on that note, and thereafter we will be joined by Arundhati Bhattacharya for her idea of where we stand in the process of cleaning up balance sheets.